AI made it worse, AI made it more efficient, and AI made it more deadly. Awesome. I think we have everybody. I think we are starting the last section of the meetup. So only the strong survived and are left here. Thank you very much for coming. The rest of the speeches were totally awesome, and it's. I told Gosha before that we were stacked in a very good order, because I think every presentation builds on another. And I think my presentation will not be about mathematics nor deep concepts or anything else. It will be just a laid back thing about AI's transformative role in music. So welcome, and I'll be taking you for a ride. This is basically me. So if you see this picture or this picture, that's basically me online. I'm currently the head of strategic research at ZAiKS Lab. I'll be talking about ZAiKS a little bit later. My previous roles included insights and trade strategies at G2A.com and game analyst at Outlier Ventures. So I've been very privileged to say that I play and analyze games for a living. I used to do that. Now it's mostly music. I also lecture at Akademia Górniczo-Hutnicza in Krakow, where I teach the beautiful subject of future of digital entertainment, and this gives me much headaches because of all the things that are happening. And because I am chronically online, I have to, of course, have a podcast, and I'm an essayist, and I have a Substack, of course, because I'm chronically online. And I'm a huge follower of the weird theory, which I'm going to explain, I think, in a couple of moments. And I'm a preacher of composable culture, a term I used to coin because I've seen lots of things interacting with each other. And I thought it's like the best thing. It's the best term to sum everything up. Okay, so like many of you know ZAiKS, and they're probably wondering, what the hell am I doing here? Because the organization is like 108 years old. So I think it's like it's like the grandpa like grandfather in the room. So it's like, it's so old. What the hell does ZAiKS have to do with technology? So ZAiKS Lab is a little spin-off. We're let's call it forward-thinking R&D initiative. And because ZAiKS is a leading organization for collective corporate management, and we support artists, we like support the royalty system, etc. We also thought, like the organization thought, okay, so the world is changing. We've all been experiencing it. The way music distribution is changing, the world is changing in terms of music creation. We have to think like forward. Hence, ZAiKS Lab was born. We are small but mighty. We consist of all those beautiful human beings. Huge shout out to Mateusz Modrzejewski, Professor Mateusz Modrzejewski, who also contributed to this presentation with all his knowledge, and who's currently doing loads of research also at Warsaw University of Technology, who is also a partner of ZAiKS. So we also like are starting some partnerships, etc. And I think you'll be hearing a lot about us in the coming year. And that's basically what took us to the interest of music and AI. And what I'm going to show you are two narratives, a bunch of examples, and some scenarios for the post-software future. I love the term post-software, and try to play with it a little bit. I'll try to be brief because we have one other great talk prepared, but I'll try to be entertaining also. So let's start. So firstly, of course, from a very positive way, AI just works as a destructive force in music. You've all probably like saw this, like some people call it the tragedy of Spotify. Like, if for those of you who don't know, most of the Spotify viral tracks in Poland and in other countries are being hijacked by AI. So things like Kutas Records, probably. I thought I might tell you more about it, but I won't. I've spent, and I'm very proud saying this, loads of my research time researching Kutas Records and having like included it in loads of presentations and like thinking, where does music go? And I've published loads of the stuff like this online, so I won't be talking about this here. You can LinkedIn it because, of course, I post on LinkedIn. You can find it anywhere else. I thought I'm going to give you a little bit of something else here and a little bit of things that we're doing that are not so sexy, not so popular online, and are harder to find, and you need to dig deeper. So one of the things I'm going to show you is a part of our Miro board, because we love Miro boards. Why not? That's solely dedicated to AI fraud. AI fraud is nothing new. Fraud in music is nothing new, right? Selling pirated CDs, like if you are as old as me, you remember downloading some artists from, I don't know, Napster of any other peer-to-peer, and being very unhappy when it's turned out it's another artist, not the thing that you wanted. But AI made it worse. AI made it more efficient, and AI made it more deadly. And those examples include content level impersonation and deception, like the sexy names. For transparency, we worked on the Miro board with our friend Claude, which I like to call Claudius, and he's a great friend of the research department. Hence all those sexy names. But in terms of content level impersonation and deceptions, what can we have here? Voice clone deepfakes have become rampant, and they just synthesize a famous singer model and like perform it with new lyrics and melodies. It's often marketed, unreleased, leaked, etc. Like, hey, download it because it's like cool. One of the like most prominent examples was Drake and The Weeknd songs "Heart on My Sleeve." Universal had it removed, of course. There's AI cover laundering, one of my personal faves. It AI regenerates a known composition with enough tempo changes to evade like music fingerprinting, and then uploads it as an original. So it evades copyright, and it's like blocks like it blocks listeners from like knowing what's right. One of most famous examples was the band I hate spelling it, King Grizzled and the Lizard Wizard. It's an awful name to pronounce, and they were one of the most prominent victims of the thing. There's also AI spam floods, so mostly within the ambient white noise micro loop genres, very niche, very experimental. So tens of thousands or even million silent songs or very short experimental things are uploaded at scale to farm plays. So it exploits the per play model, and while it's being removed, this also raises a problem within music history, because we have known that there are some entities that, for example, collect field recordings from offices. There's a well-known case from the United Kingdom, when there's an archive that has various field recordings. Some of them are very short, some of them are very long, and they have been they continuously removed from one of the biggest music distribution platforms because it's marked as spam. So like AI not only has this not very good implication on like traditional musicians, but also on music preservation. And it's important to remember that there are also identity, brand, and catalog hijacking, also one of my personal faves. Artist page hijack, profile impersonation. So it's mostly happens when there are like unregistered, like unrelated tracks. Like they find their way onto the profiles. It damages the reputation, and it confuses the listeners to an extent that I think it was 3 weeks ago we were having a lecture at Popkillery, Academia Popkillerów, with rappers and hip hop artists, and like during our research we thought this artist hijacking etc. is mostly about like the biggest fish like Taylor Swift, The Weeknd, etc., and maybe some other low tier artists like mid. But after the lecture, I think 4 people came to me and just told me, yeah, my profile has been hijacked for 1,000 listeners, etc. So it's also a huge problem in the independent scene, and it's getting worse and worse. There's a catalog and ISRC squatting. For those who don't know, ISRC is it stands for International Standard Recording Code. It's like a unique number assigned to each song and each track, because not all music or like sounds are can be like named songs. And people just sometimes steal it to reserve search real estate. This again happened with the band with the name that's very hard to pronounce, King Lizard and the Lizard Wizard. When they removed themselves from Spotify, it took I think less than a day for their catalog to be just replaced with lo-fi, like hip hop AI generated covers. And to my amazement, it was only taken down when the publication, the platformer contacted Spotify, and they made like a huge ruckus out of it. So this also shows that it's not very uncanny to do it, and it's not very unpopular to do it. There's also search hijacking, and so you just name your AI tracks with trending artists, some keywords to win algorithmic placement, and it steals clicks from the legitimate releases, and it lowers search trust. So it lowers the search in the search bar and the search box, meaning that it's harder to reach new fans, and your existing fans just have to go to your Linktree or your Bandcamp, which is good for the artist. But if you want to reach somebody new, that might be also a problem. And there's this also one famous example of a guy, WizKid, mimicking WizKid. So, haha, the wordplay. And he used almost identical track names. And the scam like misdirected listeners, and I think generated millions of streams before it was again taken down. So it also takes some time for the platforms to react. There is also distribution and metadata manipulation. Metadata is all those like backend data in music. Multi-distribution upload spraying. So you might know the phrase pray and spray, spray and pray, etc. in the startup world, and this is the same in here. You just generate a catalog of AI music for some of the providers, and you just go to like all those distributors and push them, thinking that it might just go. You might get lucky. You might just put it somewhere out there. It increases the moderation load for the platforms. It's usually problematic because it also relies on the whack-a-mole. You just whack-a-mole strategy. So this pops here, you just break it, and you delete it, and it might come back. So that's a problem. The distribution platforms are working with it. There is a case of one person uploading hundreds of thousands of AI-generated songs. Don't ask me how much money he spent on it. On the other hand, he allegedly earned $10 million out of royalties, etc. So the investment paid off, but I don't think it's good for him in the long run. But this kind of thing happen, thanks again to like AI. There's also false authorship and hidden AI usage. Many of the corporate management organizations like ZAiKS, we ask the people who are registering songs with us or tracks with us to disclose honestly how much of the what percentage of the song is done by AI, and some of them, of course. We have people who are honest, so they, for example, disclose 70% them, 30% AI. AI cannot be an author, so they're not being paid the rest of the royalties. There's also composition and lyrics miscrediting. And again, it's claiming it's almost the same, but it's the difference is that it's solely claiming you just claim yourself the rights to AI generated music. So you generated something on one of the generators and say, okay, this is solely me because reasons, and people have various like reasons for that. There are various tests and like groups that tackle the system. Some of them do it as a test, like the Swedish composer, that he had like 50 aliases and 650 pseudonyms to like release his music and test the system. But like the industry is trying to fight it. How they fight it, I think it's a tale for another lecture. But I've shown you like the three phases of how AI can be destructive. But don't worry, it's not so bad because there's a good side. Like there's this optimistic, cool side that AI can be a creative force. But usually, when I say okay, music and AI, this is what are the expectations. It's the generator Suno, and it's prompting. And you know how music and AI really looks? It looks very sexy, like this. I have no idea what this like things mean. Fortunately, my friend Mateusz like taught me what do they do, etc. But also he's like preaching this philosophy of this being the sexiest thing in AI and music. So it's mathematics, the physics of sound, and how this everything works, and like it how it evolves. And I have a couple of examples that are not Suno generated. Rather, there are human plus AI generated. One of, I think, my favorite projects in the space is RAVE, which goes for a real-time audio variational autoencoder. It generates high-quality audio waveforms quickly. It's of course open source, so you can just go to GitHub and like, okay, let's go. You can download it, which also makes it even more cool. It solves a major problem in audio generation. So because existing models require massive computer power and produce low quality sound, and are difficult to control, and they can only work with certain types of audio. So there are like a couple of problems it solves. And RAVE overcomes this limitation. I think there was a great question before about the environmental impact. And I think maybe RAVE does not solve it, but like it makes it, it takes the thing that you do out of Suna and all those like big tech computing firms, companies, big tech, and just takes it into your computer, into things that are that you can implement in a variety of ways. My favorite is this. So this is something Suna want to do. So you can upload also some various data sets, plug it into a Raspberry Pi or something else, and just play with it. Highly recommend it. Pure fun. Literally, it's pure fun. But it's the problem, like with the other things I'm going to show you. It's just the learning curve. It's not entry level. You have to have some smart friends or just test it out yourself. The other example is a token telephone. It's a play on the game. I don't know the name in English. In Polish, it's głuchy telefon. Probably. Sorry. Ooh, like Carol's Whisper. Great. So it's a installation. It's like co-creative AI sound installation. So basically, the rules are: you enter a room. There are four like, let's call it music like a quartet of generative sound neutral networks. This is very important. And you just input your voice into the loudspeaker, and then each of the neural networks just passes the and of course distorts it and makes it more weirder and like pushes it through their own system, and it goes in a loop. So in practice it looks like this.
Four neural networks.
This is how it started.
Sitting in a circle, playing token telephone indefinitely. Four neural networks fighting in a circle, playing token telephone.
Awesome. And this is how it's going. Utterly cool, utterly experimental. This is one of the installations in I think NIME conference. It's like about new interfaces for music. So all those kinds weird things are also there. And there are also researchers who also do interesting things with AI, but from a philosophical point of view. There's Yaboi Hanoi, which I discovered recently, who I discovered recently, sorry. So his interest is around the tuning systems in language models, in musical models. So many of the models are trained on data sets from the West. So like, traditional drums, guitars, etc. They have their own tuning. And the story is like, it's what he says, that for the untrained ear, for example, Phi, because he's Phi, may sound like totally distorted sound, and he has this great lecture on his website. It's only 15 minutes long, so rather than scroll Instagram tomorrow or like sit on TikTok or any other social medium, just go to Yaboi Hanoi's website and watch the lecture. It's great, where he explains the differences between different tuning systems. And he played with the idea of having this kind of model slash AI solutions, and made a song and like experimented with it. He won AI song contest in 2022. What's also cool about this researchers is this guy knows his stuff. He worked at TikTok and Google. So he has this like very academic approach, but also the approach of like a product builder. But I think he really nailed it. Bless you. And this is how how the song starts. So it might sound. I played it to some friends, and they like noticed that something's off with the tuning, and it goes into one of the best bangers I've heard this year. Nice. So this is also a creative way for to work with AI, to work around AI. And this is what AI music is. It's like weird stuff on GitHub. It's like weird things on Twitter. This was sent to me by Łukasz, who's there in the audience. Thank you very much. Like weird research papers, weird conferences. It's not only Suno Audio. Like don't get into that prompting is the way to create music. Prompting is, and it was, I think, mentioned, is going into hyper personalization. It's not what music is about. It's about co-creating weird shit on GitHub and like sharing it with your friends, meeting and just playing them the thing. Yaboi Hanoi also sat in the park, just like playing this thing to other people. So I think this is important, and we shouldn't be swept by this narrative of like, okay, Suno is the only way to do music, etc. Nope. Go play with code. Go play with weird things you find on the internet. Attend weird conferences or cool meetups such as this, and just engage with other people. So we've got it all covered, and so maybe I should tell you about the two possible futures. Only two, because we are running out of time and I don't want to bore you. First, I'm a huge lover of musical games. I've been a Dance Dance Revolution fan and Taiko no Tatsujin player. And I think that while the music gaming revival is happening, it's still popular in countries like Japan, because we have this trend of urban areas going offline. You might have seen that like 2026 is like the year we all go offline. We won't, because reasons I don't want to get into during this talk. Um, but maybe those kinds of weird things can be used for another iteration of weird musical games or like music experiences. Who knows? I don't. And this is how it looks now, and I think we need an iteration of that. By the way, it's not sped up. This is actual person playing. Every person in Japan I saw playing Taiko no Tatsujin plays like this. I don't know how they do it. There's maybe a gene that does it. I suck, hence I didn't include my playing because you would just laugh at me. But that's one future, one possible iteration of a future. And there's also the thing about the meaning of the words idol and creator, which I want to like, the deep philosophy. Which music is real? What music is real? So David already stolen me I think the best example in terms of music. And Holly Herndon is known for her great AI projects. And there are also not only musical AI, but also the way she plays with image. And she's, I think, one of the few artists that experiment with technology in a cringy way. When she entered the NFT, blockchain, and Web3 space, that we all know what happened with it. She also did it in not a cringy way. So I think she's the artist worth following. Mm. She trained her, as David said, she trained her AI. She released the album Holy Plus, but her AI is called Sprawling. Like it has some kind of cute name. Maybe this is the future. Maybe people doing some weird shit like Holly does. That's the thing. Or it's like this Holo Trigger band from my region, Trójmiasto, playing live concerts. That's a bit of old tech with like new lights. Or maybe these are just people in horse masks playing accordions to our content, and we'll be all happy and just won't give a crap about AI music. Or maybe something else will happen. Or maybe there are things that we think in ZAiKS about, because if the organization wants to prevail and wants to like live another 100 200 years, it has to think about the future. We have to think about our artists. We also have to think like, who are artists? Maybe in 10 years time there'll be we'll be registering, I don't know, Hatsune Miku LLM or something like that. It might happen. Or we might go the way that spoiler alert, Macros Plus, like the movie happens. So you have this like AI and music entity with the real voice backing her up, and she controls everyone's brains basically. Great movie, you should see it. So we don't know. I think it's really interesting to work on that, to ask questions, maybe not find the answers, because we're in a very very crazy moment, not only for music, but for content generation, for art, for programming, for all the things that were discussed before me and will be after me. And I think I will leave you with this. You can scan my QR code. You can just lurk on me on LinkedIn or in other places. I'll be very happy to talk with you about weird stuff, music, gaming, entertainment, which are my jams. Thank you very much for the invite. And I will just ask another. Or there are questions. Maybe there are questions. No questions. Okay, everybody are tired. There's the question. You can microphone.
Yeah, one question from my side. So I'm wondering, I have a friend who's really into the music. Like I don't have the background. I don't know much, so sorry in advance. But what he is telling me is a lot of jobs, a lot of people in like the music industry is just has already become obsolete by the AI. So during the process of creation the music, right? Like You mentioned all the musicians or creators, or like now let's say vibe music or whatever the AI creators.
Type music. Yeah.
But not really, seeing anything about people who did all the edits, right? Like modification of the
So like the
voice.
professional layer, like
Yeah, the
music for
professional layer
commercials.
of the
Okay.
of a career that, like let's say some plenty of Polish musicians are very famous, but
Mhm.
really they cannot sing very well from the like professional perspective of someone after the music school or whatever, right? So they are popular, but they cannot really sing well. But you can hear their music that that you may like because of all the uh, edits that all these people did, right? And all of the work, it's just becoming obsolete, right? And the same way during the concerts, right? There is always like a technical guy making sure that all the audio levels are like accurate there, and and I guess it could be automated already by the AI, right? In some form or shape, or in the future at least.
Of course, there's a very good question. In terms of the music industry, like the working professionals, so the commercial layer, again, like music for commercials, jingles, etc. I will tell you a short story, which will be a little bit of an answer. In my previous life, I used to be a concert photographer. There's a reason I'm not. I used to be a photographer. I was a reporter at the local media company, a very good one, great reporter. uh, I couldn't compete with people with mobile phones. I just couldn't. It's not that I really tried, but I just couldn't. And what strikes me with the narrative today, in terms of the music industry, nobody seems to remember how mobile phones, mobile photography just cut off reporters. Like it's like suddenly people got amnesia out of that. So the point being, I think there's like I know there's a change. We already have some signals about it. Uh, I still think there are layers of commercial music making, and by commercial music making, I do not say Taylor Swift concerts. I mean rather a guy who does jingles. They must stand out. There are some agencies in Poland. I don't want to name them. I've talked to them that there are humans working there, but they're using Suno for some stuff. So I think there are two ways to it. Of course, unfortunately I have to agree that some jobs will be cut off, but I also see that there are some entities trying to find a way. For example, again, I don't want to go into details because I'm not allowed to like. It was said in confidentiality, etc. That the again the that the biggest enemy of the music industry, the commercial music industry, is the deadline. If you work in the advertising business and okay, you have to do this jingle by tomorrow, and you just you can work with somebody. I'm not saying it's ideal. It should be done like this, but it's one way to do it, and some people are doing it. Like for the other question, which was very interesting, the one about the live music. So you can be just cut off of the. It can be all replaced. I think, thankfully, there's a reason, especially in big productions, that did not happen. Some of the things are automated, but there are, for example, rock bands. You have Pearl Jam, you have Metallica, you have other great entities that still go with the live crew. One of the reasons is because it's a very what struck me going into this industry, the music industry, again after all those years, is that it's a very person to person business. It doesn't work like traditional let's call it, I used to work in a technology company where everything is by email, etc. And here you have to meet with somebody before you even like do any business. And you have to remember that many of those people, like again Pearl Jam and all those people, have touring, literally touring people with them who are their friends, or they are working in other bands that are not so were not so successful, and they have money to do it because touring is the best business right now. So they're not doing it. And the small guys who have like I don't know, like one or two or five roadies at best, automating is like not for them. Like the music, in terms of technology and music, I'd say the overall mindset is 5 to 10 years back in time in some ways, which is also why there are some things being adapted later in the field. Awesome questions. Thank you very much.